Welcome to the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall, here to help you function at your best in health, fitness, and life. Joined by my co-host, the one and only Hailee Pindle. We are pumped to be here with you today. Let's get fired up.
Let's get fired up, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So we are doing a follow-up episode today because you need to go back, find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, wherever you like to listen or watch to podcasts. And here, you can even catch us live on Instagram. If you are joining us today, then that's exciting. Welcome.
Yeah, we're going live on Instagram for the first time.
With the podcast.
And it's exciting. With the podcast, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we've done it before.
We've done it.
At least an old pro.
We've dabbled just a little bit.
It's true. But this is a follow-up episode. So if you go back to our most recent episodes, we have a two-part series on supplements. We have a two-part series on PMS, menstrual cycle, hormonal cycle, all that fun stuff. And our most recent episode is on fertility. So go check those out. But we have had some questions. So thank you so much for sending in your questions, because we all know that when one person has a question, someone else probably has that same question. They're just maybe too afraid, or possibly just don't care to put in the effort to ask. So thank you for putting in the effort. First question is, I've been hearing a lot about creatine being good for brain health, things like preventing dementia or Alzheimer's. What are your thoughts on this? So I just wanted to disclaimer, the last time we spoke about creatine on the podcast, we were really focusing on the muscular recovery side. So creatine is widely recognized for its muscle enhancing effects. It's like spinach for Popeye, right?
Oh yeah, get those big forearms.
Yeah, it totally is. But so there's this emerging science revealing it's pretty powerful for your brain health, for protecting and optimizing brain health. Now, we are not experts in this area. This is a new thing. Actually, a friend of mine brought it up, and then it got me digging more into it. And now I'm just sharing it with you. So if that friend is listening, thank you so much for bringing this to light. Especially, so when you look at the conditions of cognitive stress. So there is, I was listening to a conversation between Dr. Rhonda Patrick and Dr. Darren Kando, and they had a whole discussion. So you guys can find them on YouTube too, but listen to us first. Make sure
we're better. We're better. You all know that. Come on.
It's good. Now. It's good to get resources wherever you can, and collect. It's all about like keeping that genuinely curious mind. That's good for your brain too. And being able to decipher, there is always going to be things that's like, well, is this true or is this not true? They do discuss several studies in the episode that they do. And it was really focused on, why creatine can be helpful for your brain health in general. If you're just taking, what I was saying for muscle. So if you think about our muscle's almost like a vacuum for creatine. So if you're taking 5 grams of creatine a day, your muscle is just vacuuming that up essentially. So they were talking about for the brain health, you want to look at higher than that. So if you're just doing it on a continual basis, there's studies to show that 10 grams per day may be the optimal dose for long-term usage. You can go 15, 20, 25 grams per day. The one thing that could be an effect of the higher dosage is it could irritate your gut a bit. And some people have that issue, some people don't. Now, so this is what Dr. Darren on the episode I was telling you about, what he does. And I was like, oh, this is actually a really cool concept, is they found that creatine has an even more profound benefit when you are sleep deprived, jet lagged, or under conditions of high cognitive stress. So not just like your day to day. If you're rolling along pretty smoothly, then, you should be good with 10 milligrams for brain health. The reason that you need a higher dosage to get creatine into your brain, because we make creatine in our brain and our body anyways. This is just upping the amount in your system. The thing is, when you're taking creatine orally, you have this thing called the blood-brain barrier, which is a really important thing for keeping neurotoxins out of your brain. So it makes it harder for anything to get into your brain blood system compared to the rest of your body. So you have to have a higher dosage to get creatine to your brain. So that's why it's 10 milligrams instead of 5 milligrams or sorry, not milligrams, grams, my bad. But if you are going to, in that period of high cognitive stress or sleep deprivation, upping that dosage has had profound effects on your cognitive function. So you can go up to 20 grams or even 25 grams. So let's say you're traveling over the weekend and you just do 3 days in a row of 25 grams. That is going to kind of give you a mega dose to really help your brain clarity during that time.
Yeah.
And then you can go back down to the 10 grams on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing. There's a YouTuber that I watch. Her name's Kelty O'Connor or something. She did
Okay.
one of those fun little like week-long trials herself where she tested all of these theories that all of these studies were saying. And she actually did find some really good benefits being sleep deprived and jet lagged because she had been traveling. So it actually did. I don't know if it's placebo or if it is like actually true, but her findings were actually this kind of relevant to the studies.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's one of those things like self-experimentation is not a bad thing. Like
yeah,
when the when it's a supplement where your body already produces this, okay, can I play around with the levels? It's different when we're talking about this is different than, don't mess around with medications. That's a
no,
totally different.
not medications, not steroids.
Yeah, not
You know what
illegal
I mean?
drugs. Here's the thing, guys. Like supplements, they really are because they operate differently in your body than medications. So
Yeah,
that's the same reason why you, you're not going to get an immediate effect. Like when you take an Advil or a Tylenol for your headache, and you're
yeah,
like, oh, I can instantly feel relief of this pain. That's different than, oh, over time, I'm trying to help my cognitive function and I'm building up these supplements within my system over time. You're going to notice the effects that are more long term. So,
yeah.
just a reminder on that, because I know people can get really impatient with that sort of thing.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You're
So,
like,
that takes us. Do you have anything else to say on that?
nope, you go for it. Let's take it to the next question.
Okay, next question. Can I give creatine to my kids? What do you
No.
think? Have you been giving it to your kids?
You know what? I'm not qualified to answer this question. I would be like, I feel like you and I are very aligned in what your answer is going to be. So, since you have kids and you're more qualified to answer this than me, go
Oh,
for it.
thanks. I
You
just
take the
wanted you.
stage.
I just wanted you to tell me I was more qualified. No,
Just a slight, just teeny weeny bit. Well, you wait
only,
till I have kids, and then I'll be like, you
yeah,
know what?
only in this
Now
one topic.
you're old news now. Now, now it's
It's
my
true.
time to shine.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm waiting for that day. So here's the thing with creatine for kids. So anytime we look at pregnant women or children, they don't do randomized controlled studies and trials on these populations because they're very sensitive and vulnerable. Well, it depends on what it is, but there's typically a lot less research on the demographic of children when it comes to supplementation, which kind of makes sense, right? But for the most part, if it's a supplement that is in your body already that your body can naturally produce, you should be able to. This is a disclaimer. They're your children. Don't do, if you're nervous about anything, like talk to healthcare providers, check labels, all of those things, all of those red tape things. So I can't tell you to give creatine to your kids, but I can tell you what I do with my children. You don't have to do this, but with my children with supplementation, whether it's a little bit of extra collagen or protein supplementation, creatine supplementation, or magnesium, vitamin D. Those are some of the ones that I do allow my kids to have. And I often just mix them into a smoothie. So, you know how kids are, especially little kids, either they can't swallow the actual pill yet, or they're like, yeah, this is disgusting.
Oh my
So, if
gosh.
it's anything that's in a powdered form, I usually just mix it in with a smoothie. And I'm not doing full adult doses. I'm putting it, again, it's like kind of dispersed within the smoothie. So it just depends on how much smoothie they drink that day. But it's not going to be a ton, but it is going to be some for them. And then once they get to an age like my 12-year-old, for example, if my 12-year-old has been sleep deprived, same thing I would do is like, I'm going to give her a little bit more creatine and that's okay. Once they're kind of getting into that preteen, teenage, you're really starting to have that hormonal shift and come into your adulthood anyways, then that's obviously going to shift. When we're looking at under 12-year-olds, you're going to be more cautious and you're going to use smaller amounts for sure.
Yeah. Have you noticed any difference? Like, I guess you wouldn't have anything to compare it with, but
Oh,
like with your
it's
kids.
so interesting. Like our kids, I'm super thankful for this. It's a huge blessing. We've also been very intentional about really giving our kids the best healthy start in life that we can. So there's
Mhm.
so many factors with our kids. They're very healthy, resilient, high immune system children. They don't get sick that often. And when they do, they tend to bounce back pretty quick. And, getting sick is not a bad thing because our immune systems need to be exposed to different things over time in order to get stronger. What doesn't kill you
Yeah.
makes you stronger. But that being said, if your child is like chronically ill, you really got to look at like what's going on here. Blood sugar levels, are they getting enough protein in their diet? So when we look at our kids, right from early on, we're always getting them lots of animal based proteins in their diet. We've always done some sort of supplementation as needed, although we go periods of times where we don't do as well with the supplementation. And that's just because of life. We just get busy.
Yeah.
But we also are very low sugar. Like our kids, they'll have treats when they're out, but we don't keep a lot of stuff in the house. And then it's so funny when you think about fast food, like our kids, they don't even ask for like a McDonald's or something like that. We just never have it. So they don't seem to even want it. And then they're also all very active and outdoors. And, I could kind of go on and on, but they also all get adjusted and they've all been adjusted from a young age. So this is something I'll give you as an example. So my oldest daughter, I don't know if I brought this up on the podcast already, but she was doing gymnastics, landed her front
Yeah.
tuck and blew her knee out. Like it was very unstable. We think
Yeah.
that she tore or had significant sprain to her LCL in her knee, and she would try to stand and it would just buckle, like it was not good.
Oof.
And a couple things happened after that. One, we're adjusting her right away, doing acupuncture, doing the supplementation and all those things I just listed to you, as well as prayer. We had a bunch of people praying for her. So it was just like this whole surrounding around her, and her body healed so quickly. Like it's amazing. Like, and to me, it was miraculous because when we retested things, it was really such a short amount of time that she had full stability back in her knees. So
Mhm.
thankful to the Lord for that. But then also, I think when you're in a healthy state as a child, man, their bodies all of our bodies are designed to be able to heal, right?
Yeah.
But especially with the growth hormones and things going on at a young age, their bodies really are designed to bounce back so quickly.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that is proof for how well it works.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you brought up a good point too, like kind of the spiritual health along with it, because I have a really, really great story to share with you. Starts out not so great, but there is someone who I know. I don't really like, they're not my friend or anything, but I know them through like mutual friends. And she was over in London visiting some friends. Unfortunately, got hit by a drunk driver.
Oh,
Yeah. And in London. She was in a coma for weeks, weeks and weeks and weeks. They flew her back. So on Facebook, their parents and like everyone's like, please pray for um, said person. And 2 weeks later, after everyone has been like in these thoughts and praying for this girl, she woke up and she's not the way she was before, but at least she's walking, she's speaking, and it there is absolutely no way I would have thought that would have happened. But I think it's super powerful. Me and Justin were actually talking about this, like how he doesn't really believe in all these miracles and stuff. I'm like, what the heck do you mean? It is so true. Like, there is something going on
yeah.
outside of ourselves. And I feel like that's a very neglected part of our health, too. Just having that faith in something that's bigger than you, like whatever that may be. Like, it doesn't have to be like a certain kind of spirituality, but just something bigger than you and like having that resource for yourself. So I wanted to share that very amazing story. Actually, it turned out to be very amazing.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That is
Yeah.
so amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's part of, I think, is what happened with the culture that we live in is It's been years of people being ingrained to ignore this transcendent reality of life. And it's this mechanistic, like taking, yeah, kind of just taking the spirituality out of things. And
Mhm.
I'm telling you, it's an area of life that you're really missing out on if you're trying to ignore it. Justin
Yeah.
can listen to this episode
I know.
because it does. It's such a beautiful gift. It's such a
Yeah,
beautiful
and,
gift.
like, however you wanna slice and dice it yourself, like, I feel like it has different meaning for everybody, but just having that kind of connection with something for yourself and that relationship, I think, is super important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too, right? And it's like even when you say that, there's a lot of relativism in our culture, right? So it's like, well,
Mhm.
it's kind of relative to what you think or what you, but I think there's like this whole, you cannot deny the existence of it, right? And some people get upset with the term God, but it's like, you know, God is real. And so that can upset you, but that's okay.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
some time, at some point in a person's life, I think everyone actually makes that encounter where they realize, you know, there's more going on than just the minute in your own little circle of your life, right?
Yeah,
Like we're all so connected in a bigger circle than we give credit to.
yeah.
And it's not even like people like, oh, it's so woo woo. And it's like, no, it's not. Think about it, even just when I was having this conversation with a friend the other day, since we were kind of on the topic of kids, how you can sense the presence, like the spiritual presence of a person without them physically touching you. A good example of this, if you're a parent and you've ever had a kid where you are literally sleeping in bed at night and you're fully asleep and then one of your kids just comes and stands beside your bed and like stares at you while you're sleeping, you know what I'm talking about.
I have another story for you,
Okay,
continue.
you will wake up and be like, whoa, there you are, hi, and you somehow know that they're in the room. Is that not correct?
Yes, except I was the kid.
I knew
Oh
you were
my
going to say
gosh.
that.
Funny enough, we so there was one time where I don't even know how old I was. I was probably like 5 or 6. Don't ask me why I was watching this movie, but it was The Omen. It's like a scary movie.
Oh no.
And like it wasn't even scary, but it was scary to me and I was just like I couldn't sleep. I was deathly scared of whatever was going to creep out of the darkness in my room. So I went over to
Fair enough.
my mom's room, and I stood at the foot of the bed with my blanket over my head. And she woke up knowing that I was there, and she just flipped out because she was like, she watched this movie too, so obviously she's like, oh,
So your mom was scared too. You totally freaked her
she
out.
that definitely woke her up. But oh my gosh, that was so. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, Hailee, you little shit.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up and thank you for sharing that story. It was very beautiful.
Thank you.
So we're going to shift gears a bit here because next question that came in was what type of so we talked a little bit more about supplements. Sorry, now we're moving on to more menstrual cycle questions. What type of exercise should I be focusing on during each phase of my hormonal cycle? You want to kick this one off?
Yes. So I feel like people can overcomplicate this too. So you don't have to overhaul your whole program. I feel like people think that like cycle syncing is a very taboo word now and everyone wants to like cycle sync. In which case
Cycle
you would
sync.
be doing like your strength training and your follicular and your ovulation phase and then scale it back to like yoga and walks in your luteal and menstrual phase, which that's 2 weeks out of the whole month where you're kind of leaving progress on the table. So I honestly don't really believe too heavily in the cycle syncing. I do believe in like taking a bit of a deload week, maybe in the luteal phase, just because like progesterone is present and it is a little bit more catabolic. Your stress levels, you're a little bit more sensitive to stress. You're not probably sleeping as good because your body temperature is higher. So in terms of like how to structure your plan, honestly keep it the same. And then when you do feel a little bit more tired, and honestly expect to feel a little bit more tired, a little bit more fatigued, your heart rate's going to be a bit higher in your luteal phase, and just scale it back. Maybe do a little bit less intensity, a little bit lower weight. Don't go for PRs if you don't feel like it. However, if you're feeling good, because there's so many different factors at play and not just your hormones, I feel like hormones can get a bad rap where it's like, how is your sleep? How is your water? How is your nutrition? How are all these other factors that are going to play into the performance in your gym, right? So, as much as we can kind of section off our workouts, I don't think that we should. I think that you should just really be in tune with your body and expect yourself to not be as great in your performance in your luteal and menstrual phase. So give yourself some grace and just meet yourself where you're at. And if you need to scale back, then scale back. It's totally fine to do that. Because prioritizing rest in that late luteal specifically and menstrual phase is also super important just for your stress levels and to make sure that you're not pushing yourself past that point and getting to the like 99% threshold, and anything else that's thrown on your plate is going to put you over the edge, right? So that's kind of my take on that in terms of like specifically in your phases. Just stick with the program.
Yeah, simplify it. I like
Yeah.
that. Well, and it's interesting because when so much of this is the awareness,
Yeah.
just getting to the point where you have awareness of where you're at in your cycle will cut down on those thoughts that are telling you, what's wrong with me? Why
Mhm.
am I, you'll hit your luteal phase and you're like, why am I so tired all the time? Am I not doing anything right? Like the world is crashing down, right? That is the most common time for you to get those thoughts and feelings.
Mhm.
And then now all of a sudden you're getting that every month, then you're asking yourself like, why am I always like this? And it's like, no, if you know you're coming into that, you're in your luteal phase, and people can have different responses during their actual menstrual cycle as well. You now know, okay, I need to watch myself with my sleep levels, like you said, Hailee. But then also the regulation of your nervous system.
Yep.
Like if I know people who are coming to the chiropractic clinic and they're at the point where they don't have an overt injury, but they're now kind of just maintaining good health. So they'll get adjusted once a month, and they'll often pair it with a massage, or they'll do like, if they're getting a massage once a month and a chiropractic adjustment once a month, they'll like spread it. So it's like every 2 weeks, there's like a massage or chiropractic adjustment. So either way you're doing it, you want to try to get into a rhythm, even with those supportive type of care, where your nervous system is more heightened, you're more likely to feel tense and anxious, or even be getting headaches or migraines during that time.
Yep.
Of course, we talk a lot about the exercise component, the nutritional component to support your body so that you're having less symptoms around your cycle. But another thing that can help a lot is schedule those massage appointments during that time of the month. Schedule your chiropractic adjustment in your late luteal phase. Like just do it. It's going to help regulate and calm your nervous system.
Yep.
The other thing I will tell you this, I'm supposed to be getting my period today or tomorrow. Like I'm right in that phase. And I had a really good month, like symptom free, pretty much symptom free, until last night. I was like, oh man, I'm not falling asleep. I feel a little agitated. I feel a little anxious. There's no specific reason. Like I didn't
Mhm.
have any bad thing happen or anything. So I was like, oh, I'm totally like, my body's like going to get my period, right? So instead of stewing and instead of going back on my phone or anything like that, I was like, all right, I'm just going to go and get some more magnesium. The magnesium, is it glycinate or
Glycinate. Yeah.
the magnesium glycinate. And I took two of those, and I have this castor oil, and I put some lotion all over my skin, and then I put castor oil on my stomach. I have this little like pad that
Pack.
I can wrap around it,
The
and it
castor oil
almost
pack.
feels, yes, and it almost
Yeah.
feels like there's pressure on your abdomen. And
Yeah.
honestly, I just find it calming. I don't sleep on my stomach because my back and my neck will be so messed, and I would recommend that you should neither if you are. But that whole, if you like the feeling of pressure on your tummy, having one of those pads that wrap around your abdomen gently with castor oil on your stomach can be so calming too.
Yep.
So between the magnesium, the getting back up, the putting on the castor oil, it's like I just calmed, and it was like, I put on some sleep meditation as well, and then I fell right asleep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. When we're in these uncomfortable states, and especially when we compare ourselves to our follicular phase self,
Yes.
I think that's where we get it wrong, where it's like last week I was feeling so good and now I'm feeling like crap and I'm mad about it.
Yeah.
Rather than like again stewing or like having a sense of urgency that you have to change your state when it's like, this is just the way it is right now. Like, just make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable, do a little bit more self-care, take better care of yourself, specifically in this phase, because you know mentally that you're not going to be as great and like resilient to stress, and that's totally okay. I feel like the expectation part of it, where it's like you plan to have this happen and you have like a plan in place. So when I feel like this, okay, go put some nice lotion on, put your castor oil pack on, maybe do a little heating pad, make yourself feel cozy, magnesium, like you have a plan for it when these things happen. I think that's also a really good thing to have in place, and just in the expectation part of it, right?
Yeah, managing those expectations and having things that you can do that are going to help you to calm. So either like you've planned ahead, like an appointment and an
Yeah.
adjustment, or you haven't planned ahead, or you whatever, then you have these things at home that you can use, and it's
Yeah.
going to go a long way. And
Exactly. Same
go
same with
ahead.
like social life. I tell Justin, I'm like, don't let follicular Hailee con you into doing social things in the luteal phase. So he's like in it with my cycle, like, oh, what phase are you gonna be in when we're going out to dinner with these people, blah blah blah. Because he knows I'm gonna be like complaining about it, like, gosh darn it. Why did I because in my follicular and like ovulation, I'm like, yeah, let's go for dinner with everyone and anyone. And then it gets to the time where it's like a week later, and now I'm deep in my late luteal. I'm like, oh gosh, I just want to go to sleep.
I just want to go home. I just want everyone to leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know what's you know what's interesting though, because we talked about the oxytocin. We talked about
Mhm.
oxytocin hormone on our last episode. And I know you're going to feel resistant to touch during that. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, leave me alone. I don't want to touch anyone.
Yeah.
But if you have enough willpower to surrender to the hug, to surrender through to the like, I have it where even like my youngest son, he'll put his cheek on my cheek. And I try to just like surrender to that like oxytocin release. Because hey, you do have a choice in this. You know, when you're like, let's say, okay, your husband comes up, or your boyfriend, your fiance, are you guys, is he your fiance?
Almost.
Oh my
Almost. We're in the home stretch, baby.
God. Okay. Well, anyways, get on that. But
I know.
they come up and they try to hug you, and you're kind of almost like arms down. And you're like, I don't want to be hugged. It's like, dude, just surrender to the hug. It's gonna release oxytocin in your brain. It's gonna help with all your symptoms. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. It's true though.
It is.
Didn't Renata say, how long was it? The hug's supposed to be like 10 seconds?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh,
That's
that
like
was you. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I'm discrediting you.
I know it's fine. I'm sure she would. She agreed. She said the same thing
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, exactly. Cumulative.
So yeah, seriously, it's these simple things that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And that ties into our next question, which is so the question was, can my skin feel itchy during my luteal phase? And can that be related to my hormones? And I'm again not an expert on this specific area, but I did look this up, and if you're getting a drop in estrogen and progesterone, if those two hormones are falling, you can get more of that like irritated nervous system, increase in inflammation in your body, which can make your skin feel like tingly or itchy or irritated very easily, almost like a hypersensitivity. And that can occur. Now, that being said, so it would be like, oh, my whole body feels itchy, right? But that would be in the case of like, if you're not seeing hives or you're not seeing a rash, and it's just that everything feels like irritated and itchy, then yes. If there's like a rash, that's something you want to go, well, maybe you did get a drop in your immune system that then predisposed you to, an actual skin irritation. Then go get that
Yeah.
looked at.
Yeah. I haven't really heard too much about itchy skin and hormones. And so I am absolutely not the best person to ask this question about. But
Yeah.
what you just said tracks
Yeah,
very,
it makes sense for
yeah.
like nervous system sensitivity.
Yeah.
And so though then you're going to do the same things we just talked about, like those calming type techniques, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of itchiness, you had a question come into your platform about itchy scalp, eczema, autoimmune issues, and
Yeah.
some questions about that. Did you want to touch on that now?
Sure. Yeah. Just like If you've ever dealt with psoriasis, like I have scalp psoriasis, and I feel like that's a very common thing for a lot of my clients, just coming from a background of like ED, hormonal disorders, or hormonal issues. It's super common for women to have autoimmune diseases or issues. Like one of them has colitis, PCOS, all of these other things that can have been caused by a lot of stress, or even like one of my clients went through pregnancy and that was a huge stressor on her body. And then afterwards, she got like this said autoimmune issue, right? So the specific client has itchy scalp, kind of like flaky psoriasis, which I can definitely touch on because I deal with the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's got a lot to do with inflammation, your gut health, and stress levels. So whenever I am super stressed or I'm like pushing a little bit harder, like work wise, sometimes like you do just have to push a little bit harder or do a little bit of a sprint before you can scale back. And during those times, I definitely feel like my head is like on fire. And in which case, you have to really like take account, are you over exercising? Like, are you under eating? Those two are a huge stressor on your body and can cause this to happen, which I don't think a lot of people kind of correlate together. And
Mhm.
then the third one, like perceived stress. Like, are you constantly in fight or flight? Are you not sleeping well? Are you constantly under work stress? Are you like have that pit in your stomach? Anxiety is really present all the time. So taking a really big audit on your life and even like auditing your time and like where are you spending your time? Are you saying yes to things you want to say no to? Are you people pleasing? Are you doing all of these other things that aren't really aligning with yourself? And then that's kind of cascading into you being under a lot of stress and causing autoimmune issues. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's huge. That so my sister went through the same thing with psoriasis and during a phase she actually had we I was doing it too with some of my autoimmune issues and we went full carnivore.
Hmm.
And what that allowed us to do is heal our guts.
Yeah.
And so it's like now, do I only eat carnivore? No, I do. I eat other foods as well. But again, it depends on what side of the coin you're coming from, right? Because I just want to touch on this because you could be coming where you've already been under eating and like hyper stress without. So from your background, right? You're high stress, high exercise, low food. Now, if you're on the other end and your body is obese or overweight in some way, and you have been packing on weight because of stress hormones, and you're overeating, you're indulging in foods to kind of self medicate or numb, one thing you don't want to do during that either is to when you decide, okay, I want to lose this weight, is if you are trying to lose it too rapidly, it's a
Hmm.
long-term game, because the same thing will happen even if you're overweight and you're like, all right, I'm just going to start eating really low calorie and hyper exercising, and that affects your sleep and all of that. You want to look at it like you can get to a healthy body weight, or like a healthy body composition is the better thing to say than weight, but it is going to take time. It's going to be healthier for your body if you commit to a plan over time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's different. Like, do you want like fat loss or weight loss? And I think that's a very big thing with like Ozempic and all of that stuff going on,
Yes.
where people are like, oh, I need this medication, I need this pill to like magically solve all of my problems when they don't really know like the short term like you feeling good is going to leave you even worse off long term, because
Yes.
even if you're under eating, like you're going to lose a lot of muscle mass, especially if you're not eating enough protein, exercising, strength training. And so when you come off of this Ozempic, your body is going to be in a much worse composition and metabolically healthy state than when you started. So it's that's
So
another
yeah,
podcast.
that's a
That's
whole we
another
should
podcast.
do. Yeah, we should totally bring on a pharmacist and go through. My friend, I wonder if she'll do it. If
Oh,
she
let's do
listens
it.
to our episodes, I'll have to ask her,
Yes.
because that is a huge issue. But yeah, that topic's for another day. We are needing to wrap up because I know you got to go. Our last question's probably a quick one. The last question we had come in was, would you recommend supplementing with probiotic?
It. It depends. Like, I am always food first. So,
First.
plus a lot of the probiotics out there on the market just generically like get destroyed by your stomach acid. And by the time it gets to your gut, it's like you just wasted $50.
Yeah.
So,
Probiotic. And then there's prebiotics as well.
yeah. So prebiotics, like probiotics is like the bacteria and prebiotics is the food that probiotics eat. So like probiotic would be like pickled veggies, like apple cider vinegar, kefir, yogurt, kimchi,
Sauerkraut.
sauerkraut. Yeah. All
Yeah.
of those things, right?
You can eat
So
all those foods and
yeah.
get
Yeah.
probiotics.
And I feel like food first is always the better option.
Yeah.
And your body also like digests it. It recognizes it so it can use it and utilize it a little bit better than like the pill form. So
Yeah. I've gone through phases where I've used them and phases where I haven't. I'm not
yeah.
right now. Because I've always been like, I don't really know if this is doing anything.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know. I haven't taken one in a really long time to be quite
Yeah.
honest with
Me
you, but
neither.
yeah, it I don't know. I think it depends
It's
on the
a
person
tough
too.
one. It goes in phases. I would say
Yeah.
same as you. Food first, stress levels, all the things
Yeah.
we've already been saying is kind of your first line of defense. And if you're like, okay, my body's really struggling, this might be another line of defense for you.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not going to be your first option.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We hope you enjoyed this episode and it answered some of your questions. Go back and listen to the previous episodes if you haven't. And then these questions will make even more sense. It's episode with a friend, too. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. And in the meantime, be free, feel fresh, and live on fire.